Hello, hello, everyone. I am super excited about today's live stream. I'm not alone today. I'm not talking to the camera hoping someone is on the other end, even though you all love to show up. I love to say alive isn't live unless you're live with me. But today I am bringing some very special ladies to you to talk about profitable portfolios. These are Black women who have developed the skill set, who have invested in knowledge, who are experts at what they do, and they also teach others how to do the same. So they've gotten into an industry, whether it's a multi-million or multi-billion dollar industry, they've risen to the top of that industry. Most of them have grown multiple 6 and 7 figure businesses, and they're here today to talk to you about how you can leverage in their specific industries. So I'm going to go ahead and get this party started. I'm Vision to Profit Coach Jalen Jones. I'm a business development officer to fierce female founders who own agencies, firms, and online businesses. I support women in leveling up their personal brand with profitable and powerful positioning, offers, and events. I am not the most important person here today. Really, whomever is tuning in, you're super important. And I believe that when we see a thing or when we see a person and we see something happening, we ultimately can never unsee it. So after this live today, you will never be able to unsee that Black women exist at the top of different industries, and you can too. So one by one, I'm going to bring these awesome ladies to the stage to introduce themselves, and we're going to start with Miss Delphine Foster.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
Well, my name is Delphine Price Foster. I am the owner of Six Figure Trucking Academy. I am the premier online school that is dedicated to teaching women how to start their very own trucking business as a actual business for investment purposes, not driving, but strictly as a business. I've been in the trucking industry since 1996. And I actually do trucking. So I like to say I'm not a trucking guru. I am a trucking guru because I do trucking each and every single day. That's who I am.
Love it. So excited. Thank you so much for being here. And we are going to invite the next lady to the stage. It's Kimberly. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the people. Oh, God. You're on mute. Can you hear me? Yep. Go ahead.
All right, there we go. All right, so hello everyone. My name is Kimberly Fowler, and I'm the owner of Tax Pro Financial Service and Tax Pro Software Solutions, where I teach tax preparers how to start, run, and grow their own independent tax business. We primarily like to work with experienced tax professionals who want to build their business and get more customers within 90 days using our profitable tax problem solving framework.
Love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much for being here. Can't wait to dive in. Next, we are bringing up Mimsy Mendez.
Hi guys. Thank you for having me, Jalen. It's always a pleasure talking with you. So I'm Megan, and otherwise called Mimsy as well. So I'm a nurse and a small business growth, and development specialist. Um, I show other women how to leverage their income by acquiring small businesses, scaling those businesses, and selling them later for a profit. Um, I'm also interested in showing women how to franchise. So I'm the owner of Comfort at Home, which is a franchise brand, and I would love to talk to multiple women about how they can scale and grow a home care agency or any other healthcare business for that matter.
Love it. Thank you so much for being here. Can't wait to dive into conversation. Next, we have Melanie Denny.
Okay, hi, my name is Melanie L. Denny, president of Resume Evolution. I'm a personal branding consultant and I specialize in helping brilliant executive women of color to gain visibility and capitalize on new opportunities beyond the 9 to 5.
Love it. Thank you so much, Mel, for being here. Can't wait to join conversation with you. Next, we have Keisha Chris.
Here we go. Hi, everybody. My name is Keisha Chris, and my name is actually Keisha Peters. I go by Keisha Chris, and I am the owner and CEO of Bumblebee Attitudes, and we are in the transportation service business where we transport individuals with intellectual delays. I don't know why I keep messing that up. I'm so nervous for why I don't know, but that's what I do, and I on my journey, I've found that I help a lot of other people get into this industry. And I'm like some of you out there, I'm learning to leverage my business, but I'm doing it at an accelerated rate. Thanks to you, Jalen. And again, thanks for inviting me and having me on here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Can't wait to get in the conversation. We already got some folks joining, and this is the time where we need to go ahead and share this out. Remember, it is so important for people to see possibility in others. Once we see a person and once we see a thing, everything changes about the trajectory of our lives and our businesses. And I can say the same about myself. My business was able to grow extremely fast once I started getting mentors and coaches and being around the right people. And so this is the definite time where that saying, being around the five people that you're around or the people that you're a reflection of, just imagine being around about 10 Black women who are leveraging and who are operating at the top of their industry. So this is a very powerful conversation. Make sure you share this out. And once you do, type share in the comment section. Once you feel like you want to tag somebody specifically, do that too. Sometimes a share isn't enough. Maybe there's somebody you're thinking about and you want to tag them directly in the comment section. So go ahead and take care of that. We got a few more ladies to introduce. Coming all the way from Japan, let's introduce Chandra.
Hi. I want to apologize up front for my office view. They changed the locks to the office to make them digital. And I do not speak Japanese, so I have to wait for someone to show up. But my name is Chandra, and I am the general managing partner of the Mugen Group. And we help small businesses win and scale their business through government contracts.
Nice. Love The Office. Okay. It's going to work for today. At least you have Wi-Fi. Next, we have Dr. Wendy Labat.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Wendy Labat, the financial healer, and I empower entrepreneurs to overcome anorexic income, obese debt, and other financial ills to take control of their finances, build a financial legacy, and become financially free to live the life they desire.
Absolutely. That's messaging one-on-one if y'all were looking for a class. Doesn't anorexic income make you be like, whoo, goodness. Thank you so much, Dr. Wendy. Can't wait to have conversation. And last but certainly not least, let's welcome Miss Toki Simmons to the stage.
Hi. Hi, everyone. So, yes, I am Toki Simmons. I am the Chief Financial Officer to Establish Women in Business, and I help them accelerate their revenue and their profits. I am the owner of Handle My Books, which is an award-winning bookkeeping firm. I also am an investor to other women in business, and I also help to coach new women in business to reach their first six figures.
So let's bring everybody back on stage because it's time to get this party started. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. We all know it is hard to get this many bosses in one room at one time, but we did it. So I'm going to be honorable of your time today, and we're going to get started with this conversation. I just want to remind everybody to continue to share this live out. It will be available on replay. Shout out to Tamisha, who's here as well. She's also an amazing business owner of a franchise, and she's in the food delivery business, like a Uber Eats, but and she's one of very few Black women in that industry, so she can definitely understand this conversation. So let's start with the first question. And as you ladies know, there are many of us on stage, so we're going to try to keep our answers to 60 minutes, 60 seconds. 60 seconds to 2 minutes long. And the first question is, I want to know your story. How did you get into the industry that you've been able to leverage? And when did you realize that this is it? This is the thing that will create millions for me and others. So feel free, whoever wants to start off, the floor is yours.
I'll start.
Yes.
Okay, I started my entrepreneurial journey almost 4 decades ago. I was about 2 years old, and I didn't have any business experience or very little financial resources. But the spirit led me to do it. And it was a time when there's no internet, no social media, and the only thing you could do with the cell phone was make an expensive phone call. So I suffered some financial ills. I had almost fatal financial ills, but thank God, those situations allowed me to learn and become, the savvy business person I am today. But it was a difficult journey, but thank God I'm able to share what I do. And I guess the main thing too that got me into the financial cures was my breast cancer. And as a result of practicing what I preach, my aggressive breast cancer cost me off almost $1.5 million, but I had the proper protection. So my insurance coverage, handled all of that. And then I had other supplemental coverages that brought me in multiple six-figure tax-free shots in the arm. So I didn't have to worry about money. I was able to really, focus on my recovery. And God said, okay, you're going on a crusade because I brought you out better than, where you were. Because I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, and I'm good. That's after I, finished that last chemo treatment. But he said, no, you're getting out of that comfort zone and you're going to go on a crusade to empower others to get their money right. So I became the financial healer. So that's how I am where I am today.
Powerful, powerful, powerful. And it sounds like not only did you get into a specific industry, but you are the blueprint for the industry that you are a part of because you utilize your strategies to clear medical debt, to take care of bills. And that's what we do, we do it for. It's not just for other people, but it's for us to be an example and a model to the things that we teach. So thank you so much for sharing. Who else would like to hop on in?
I'll hop in if you don't mind. All right. So for me, my story started when I first started what was Resume Evolution back in 2009. And I fell into it. I always loved writing and I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just had no idea what. And I was just started writing resumes. My bestie needed one. I was like, girl, this is trash. I got you. Let me fix this. And so I started just doing resumes. I bought a book and someone was like, you're really good. You should charge. So like, that's not a thing. I cannot charge for resume writing. And I did a little Google search and lo and behold, there was a whole industry with organizations and awards and certifications. And so I put up a website and I built my resume business. People know me for resume. Melanie is synonymous with resumes to the point where I started kind of like putting myself in the industry as a leader because I didn't see people who look like me leading the space. And so I made a conscious decision like maybe I'll be that person so other people who look like me can see somebody who looks like them doing this thing at a high level. So I went on to, I was featured in 6 different resume books. I got 3 awards, nominated for 2 more, quoted all over the place for my expertise. And the thing about it was I got sick of it. I got bored of it because I get bored quickly. And I had been doing that for 13 years. So what I ended up doing in 2020 is I started a group, Society of Elite Resume Writers. I started that group, grew it to like 300 members. And then I still was sick of resumes. And I ended up selling that. And I was like, what now? What's next? And I had to do a lot of reflecting. Last year was kind of rough because I was feeling lost because I always knew what I was doing. I always had a plan. I always, was branding myself. And what I realized is that I was branding myself, I was branding my resume clients, and I was helping the resume writers brand themselves. And that's the part I really love, helping people understand what makes them special, what makes them unique, how to position themselves, how to sell themselves, and how to really articulate their value. Well, let's pull that part out. And then I decided to create a whole different, but the same business, but more centered around not just getting a job, but really making impact, similar to the impact that I made in the industry, where I have 300 resume writers who look to me as their leader. And I want other people to do that in their industry now as well. And so that's how Empowered Presence is the name of my program was born. But if you were listening, I said Resume Evolution was my resume business. It was always meant to be a pun. So it's actually now Resume Evolution. So that's my story.
I love that. And I came from the resume writing industry. That was actually my first business, and that's how I got the chance to meet Mel. And I think that's another important part of this is that as women in business, we get to be a part of the evolution. We get to decide that we start here and we evolve into something else. But what really was so powerful when I met Mel is I was struggling to charge 2 figures and 3 figures for resume writing, and Mel was being paid handsomely at 4 figures plus to write resumes. And so it was again seeing someone doing a thing is so powerful. To now see you transitioning that skill set into powerful personal branding as a certified personal brand strategist, LinkedIn expert. You know how to play with words in people's profiles to show them exactly who they are. I think it is so powerful. And you may not even realize it, but you're creating a lane for hundreds of other resume writers who will eventually see that there has to be a succession plan to this. I can't always be behind the computer or the laptop writing the resume. At some point, I must evolve. And now they have someone to see and say, this is the next level for me. Is there any other woman who wants to talk about their story and what got you into your industry? Oh, hey, it's you. Unmute yourself.
Hey everyone, this is Kimberly Fowler. So, how I got into the industry is because I am my customer avatar. I was my customer avatar. I was working for one of the top franchises in the tax preparation industry. I was working for them for a number of years, moved up the ranks. They literally taught me how to prepare taxes on a CD-ROM. Nobody physically taught me. They put me in front of a CD-ROM, and if you're old enough to remember what that is, yeah. So I got that training in a week, and the next week I was in front of customers, and I was like, "Oh my God!" So as I quickly understood though that I needed the software did most of the work, but I still needed to understand and interpret the Form 1040 and be able to explain this to clients rather than just letting the software do all the work. So with that being said, I studied a lot, became regional manager, office manager, tax school instructor, and then I started managing one of the bigger offices that's downtown Atlanta. I never saw the owner. I never talked to the owner or anything, and I just managed the office. And I happened to see one of the profit and loss statements the end of the tax season. That one office grossed $12.5 million within 4 months. So I was like, well, I never saw the owner. I never saw. So wait a minute, I can do this, right? So I'm thinking it's all of my efforts or whatever. And so after that, I said, okay, let me start my own tax business. Let me just get out here and do this on my own since I can do it here. I quickly realized that it was not just the talent and the skill that built the business. It was the systems and the automation and the processes that they had in place, right? So I had my own office and I was, doing my customers and everything, but I was about to fail. Like I was literally going to have to close my doors because I wasn't understanding, like, why am I not getting the customers? What's going on? And so I had to figure out other ways to be more valuable in the marketplace. So one of the things that I did realize is that as I was hiring tax preparers, one of the things that I offered them of value was teaching them how to also start their business, start their own independent tax business, because tax preparers wanted to know, well, I want to go out and do it on my own. Through my trial and error, little did I know that was going to be a transformation for other tax preparers. So I realized that I attracted more tax preparer clients by teaching them from teaching them trial and error, giving them the blueprint to how to start their business based on the experiences that I was going through. So I was attracting more clients then. So I decided to coach, and I was coaching then. I didn't know I was giving it for free. It's like, hey, this is, and then I actually got a coach who actually told me, hey, that's your moneymaker. So I packaged it up. I was still working a full-time job at the time at one of the payroll companies. I packaged up everything that I knew, the process, the system, and I also started to resell software so they'll have the tool to actually run the business. So I packaged all of that up, and within one tax season, literally within that next tax season, I went from having to close my doors to making six figures in that one tax season. And after that, I've consistently made six figures over and over by teaching other tax preparers through my trial and error, because I was my customer avatar.
I really hope that people get that your mistakes can make you multiple six figures.
Yep.
Your mistakes. That's one thing me and Kimberly talked about. She's like, I probably have messed around and made millions. Right. I meet women who make millions of dollars every day. And I think that there is this idea in the mindset of some people who may have not seen seven figures yet. The seven figures is the holy grail, and it changes your entire financial situation and your entire life. And it can, but there are many millionaires who have 5, 6, and 7 figure problems, so us knowing how to make our mistakes and mold them into a part of the plan is so important. Please do not omit your mistakes from your journey. And omitting your mistakes when you are looking to be a mentor, a coach, a strategist, or an educator to someone else is basically taking out some of the most pertinent details that people need to know to accelerate. Acceleration happens when we can mitigate the challenges. So thank you so much, Kimberly, for sharing that mistakes will make you multiple six figures. And so we got some comments so far. Setting your own foundation. Someone has dropped the crown. And if you're here, let us know you're here. Join us in this conversation. We're going to go ahead and head to the second question. But if you're just joining us, you are looking at a panel of women who operate at the top of their industries, multiple industries, the financial services, the trucking businesses, transportation industries, personal branding, tax, profitability, business flipping, government contracts. We're all here. And we're here to show you during Women's History Month what's truly possible when you become the expert at what you do, when you learn how to leverage your skill set, no matter if you are one of the few. Raise your hand if you are one of the few in your industry, or you've been the only Black person or woman in the room, and you have to just stand tall in your expertise and in your skill. Many of us. And so we exist, and sometimes you just have to see it to know that there is possibility. So let's go ahead and head to the second question. We just learned about a few ladies on the panel, what their story is, how they got into their industry, and when they realized that this is it. All right. So second question. We hear about the glitz and the glam, and y'all are going to give us some strategy about your specific industries later. But let's talk about the risk associated with leverage. If you have a story about a time where you either took a loss or you lost and how you decided to turn that into a win, I would love to hear you share that, because I do believe that some of this is missed when people are thinking about becoming millionaires or multimillionaires or operating in these industries. We omit those losses. So if you have taken a loss or had to turn a loss into a win, I would love to hear your story. Anybody is welcome to start. Megan, it's on you.
Okay. So it's, I guess I'll come in. I didn't get to tell you my wins, but one of the biggest loss that I think I've taken is, and that people take for granted, was that in 2006, around when we had that big crash of the century with real estate, I lost three properties that year, over 800 and something $1,000, and I had to file bankruptcy. Okay. And so my lesson from that 2008, I never stopped. By 2011, I was flipping businesses. And I've lost in some business. In fact, last year, I lost a property, a gas station property in Bergen County, New Jersey. If anyone knows that, they know what a little square of land cost. It was about $1.5 million. And I lost it because I just realized that in my flipping businesses, so I would buy a business literally. Let's say I'd buy something for 40,000. I'd work it, scale it, get all those processes in place. And then maybe a year or two later, I would sell that for six, seven, eight times of what I paid for it because I could show the value in the growth. But my mistake was that I was selling them too fast. If I had held on to some of those businesses a year, 2 years later, they would have been worth 20, 30 times what I sold them for. And that's what happened with the gas station. I bought this property for 850. I went in with literally 300,000 of hard cash, cold hard cash. I got in within a year. I sold it to someone because by then I'd flipped like three or four gas stations. So that was my thing. So I found this guy. He had never run a gas station before, but he had the money and I needed a vacation, right? I needed to take a vacation to Europe for about 4 weeks. And that's what happens sometimes. You get tired and you just bog down. And he came, he had the money, and I sold him the business, not the property. So he was going to be paying me rent. Within 6 months, this guy walked away from it, but he had a major spill. And not only did he have the spill, he called the Department of Energy for New Jersey. So they documented this spill, and then the cleanup, not to mention this cleanup is going to be millions of dollars. And so once he walked away right in August of 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic, when New Jersey was shut down, nothing was going on. I couldn't even get rent for this property. And so I had to make that decision to walk away from that. Well, it was $300,000 cold cash, but the property was worth almost 2 million at one point. Not to mention the business aspect of it, what the business is worth. And so my lesson from all of that is that I suddenly learned during 2021 that I was selling them too fast. And I learned that by listening to my 16-year-old. So never discount what your kids tell you because they've watched you do every single thing you're doing and they're learning what not to do. And so I listened to her, and that's my moment of acknowledging my mistakes and realizing what. And that's what brought me to even franchise Comfort at Home, because I've had it long enough where I can show others and it's a blueprint for them to do the same.
That was
No,
powerful.
that was wrong, but
That
that
was no, no, no. I think that's a great example of when it's worth it
yeah.
to really get through the meat and potatoes of a story. And ladies, if you didn't get to share your story, I really encourage you to loop it in just the way Megan did, because that we needed that context. Because no, a lot of times folks have the outcome in mind of what they want to happen, but they don't always understand the pitfalls along the journey that are bound to happen. Are you boss enough to walk away from $300,000 cold hard cash that you worked for to take a loss on a $2 million investment? And you were bold, You were brave enough. You had enough courage to know that if you lost and you won, you could win again. So I really appreciate you for sharing that. Who else is next?
I like to share things. So my story started when I was in the military, and it was one of my last deployments in Afghanistan, and we were in this base, and it was on top of a mountain, and I was like, Lord, you get me out of this hole. I'm gonna live my life to the fullest, but I really didn't know what that would entail. So fast forward several years, and I've been in working in the government contracting space, and I just had my daughter, and due to health reasons, I had to leave. And I walked away from my six-figure job, and my husband at the time, who's still my husband, was like, "We're just going to walk away from a whole six figures. They can't accommodate you with the ergonomic chair." So I took a stepped out on faith, started my first business, and that failed. And now I'm getting the side eye from my husband, started a second business, and that failed. Um, and it failed because I realized that it wasn't something that I could scale, meaning that I could be successful in this business. I could replace my income very easily in this business, but it would be all me. And the whole point of me being able to live my life fully is to be able to do the things that I enjoy when I enjoy them. And I can't do that if I have a now 24/7 job, vice the one that was only 8 hours, a day. And so I call that a fail because it wasn't what a business is designed to do, which is leverage um, other people helping you and turning into something that is better for the community. And so that's when I ultimately found Jalen and I started my business, the Mugen Group. And now it's something that's scalable and it's something that can help so many people make a difference in their community through the use of winning government contracts. So one of the things that I failed at was starting a business that was scalable, but leveraging those lessons learned, I was able to create a new business where not only is it scalable, it's profitable and it's helping multiple people at any given day.
I love that. And thank you so much for sharing about the multiple failures first. So walking away from cold hard cash to investing your ideas and your time and your industry and and your energy and telling your husband like, trust me, this is gonna be the one. And then he's like, hold on, wait, the first one that didn't work, the second one that didn't work, and you have to bet on yourself a third time to say this is going to work, and it does. Government contracts is such a hot topic right now, and I appreciate you for being one of those folks that have helped me see the maximum to government contracts versus just thinking about, oh, a six-figure contract is the end. You're like, that's like playing in the pool. That's not, that's like in the shallow end because of those failures, you were able to get to this point and be able to help so many people see the maximum of government contracts. I definitely think that you and Mimsy should have some conversations because she's been able to leverage contracts as well. And you didn't get to see Megan earlier, the look on the face of the woman that you were speaking to when she was like, oh, she has a home care agency as one of her businesses. And she told the woman that they don't use the typical payer source that most businesses in their industry use because it's not sustainable. And they were like, what? But she has other streams of income that they leverage, to see maximum profit in their business. And one of those is contracts. So it's so powerful to hear that you have that insight and that your firm helps people get that level of access. So thank you so much for sharing. Toki, I believe you wanted to share as well.
Sure, I do. So I want to talk to those from the service industry perspective, right? Because when I started my bookkeeping firm, what you usually you start taking on small clients, and then you realize quickly that if you took on less clients at a higher rate, that you can what Shamika says, condensed time. Like you can make money faster. And so part of my model of my service business is that every few months, every like 4 or 6 months, what I do is I look at my client roster and I see who are the problem children um, of, of my firm. And so we disengage with a lot of people every 4 to 6 months because I want to work stress free. You know, I didn't start my business to be bogged down with somebody else's issues, right? And so I started disengaging with mainly the small clients. And what happened was I only had a few handful of large paying clients who I thought, because I was making multiple six figures, I thought that was it, right? That's my ticket. I no longer needed these smaller clients. I have my larger clients. But what started happening is some of my larger clients started losing money. So they started going away. Others started restructuring and started saying, "Look, and we're bringing, all of this in house." And so I lost, and Jalen can tell you, I lost about $100,000 in a week. And from doing that, what I recognized, not that I hadn't always recognized it, but once you're in the middle of this loss, and I wouldn't say a failure because I've come back from that, but what you recognize during this loss is that you can't count on a handful of high end paying clients. You need a variety of clients. You need your smaller clients for your bread and butter. You need the middle tier clients and you need your high end clients, which is the reason why I was able to ricochet back from that loss because I not only have the bookkeeping firm where I can take on these smaller end clients, but I'm also, helping those that are right in the middle. And then, of course, offering my CFO services at the top tier level. So, my what I can give to those in the service industry is just say make sure you have that mixture, make sure you have that multicultural and that varietal of services that you're able to offer so that you're not just relying on five and I'm just throwing out a number, but you're not just relying on five or 10 high-end clients that if they start shutting their doors or restructuring or deciding just not to use you, that your whole livelihood is upside down. And what I want to say about that too is make sure when you're forecasting, when you're in business, always make sure that you forecast with a what if scenario. Because had I had originally put in, well, what if, Jalen stops paying me, what would happen then? What would that look like? How can I safely pivot and how can I do it fast? So that's what I can offer to those in the service industry and, product industry too, but about my losses and how I needed to pivot. I needed to recognize that I needed multi levels of services to offer.
That mix is so important. Delphine, it's on you. And
Well, my story is not as glamorous as you all's. I actually started out on welfare. I was on welfare in Section 8. My welfare check was $440 whole dollars for the whole month. So when it was time for me to say enough is enough, because I was already educated, I was just going through just a rough time in life. I took a chance. At that time, I was in Washington State, and they had a program that stated that if you decide to come off of welfare, they'll give you 10 months of welfare up front, but you cannot come back on. So I had to risk all that I had, which was my $440. Talk about risk leverage. And I used my welfare check to buy a semi truck. Picture that. I mean, she was pretty beat up, but nonetheless, I did it. And I took a chance, and I that's what I leveraged was all that I had. All I had was my welfare check, food stamps, and Section 8. Anyway, fast forward, to God be the glory. I grew that, of course, a seven-figure business, but I failed many, 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 many times along the way. But I know a thing or two about risking, leveraging. I know a whole lot of thing or two or three or four about that. But my first risk ever was getting off of welfare and purchasing a semi truck. And foolish enough believing that I could make this business work. And I did. I did again and again and again. Mind you, I have failed. I've literally not failed. I will not say the word. I'm sorry. I've gone out of business at least 7 different times from different things happening, but I never was out of business longer than 30 days before I started up again. I mean, that's what got me into the whole coaching space, because I know that there's got to be other women just like me. I'm a firm believer that every sister should have at least one truck that operates in her portfolio of investments. And that's what I'm here to show sisters how to do just that. So my loss isn't as fancy as y'all's.
Listen, but your loss is that is so powerful. And, it kind of reminds me of so many businesses blooming during the pandemic with stimulus checks. And so there's nothing new under the sun. I didn't know about a program like that existing, but you taking a risk. There are some people that would have said, I won't be able to get back on welfare. I won't be able to get my $400.
Right.
And they kept doing whatever they was doing. But you decided different. And you may not feel like your story is as glamorous, but one thing I will say, I can't talk about millionaires I don't know. I can only talk about the ones I do know. And the ones I do know took some losses and sometimes ended up on welfare lines or ended up in various situations. But the beauty of the bounce back is real. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I know we have Keisha and Wendy who also want to share.
Here we go. So yeah, I'm gonna kind of weave my story in. I think I got you beat. Was that Delphine? I was only getting $163 every 2 weeks when I went on welfare, and it was because I thought that all this time that I was a hairstylist for almost, I'm going on my 20th year as a licensed stylist, and I had my first baby, and I thought that employment taxes, self-employment taxes I was paying into, I thought that was my money that they was gonna give me when I went on maternity leave. Because I started when I was 18 and nobody told me. I was a licensed hairstylist when I was 18. Nobody told me anything about the money, how to work it, how to save it, any of that. And so when I had my first son, my first child, my son, I had to go on welfare, and they only gave me $163 every 2 weeks. So I went right back to work. And then after that, one of the stylists that worked in my salon, because I was a salon owner, and he kept telling me about, we was all broke salon stylists. And he was telling me how he was working for his father-in-law and how he was about to start a business and how I should start one too. And he told me this for a year, and I didn't believe him until he started his. He started making money. He was like, Key, he called me Key. He said, Key, you got to get into this. So he finally convinced me to do it. I did it. It took me about a year to get my contract. And that's what got me into this business of transportation. And I think my biggest loss was not walking in my CEO role for so many years. And I lost so much money trying to still be a hairstylist, trying to do what I saw everybody else doing, trying to just do everything by myself instead of hiring people, instead of building a team and getting people in place to do the things that I didn't need to do. But I was so used to being an entrepreneur since I was like in the 6th grade selling candy. And that was my biggest loss. And the reason I knew that this business was it was when I went to Atlanta in September of last year to this conference that I heard from, I'll say, my macro coach. He told me about this conference. I saw he was attending the conference, and then I met my micro coach, who just started pouring into me and telling me, she listened to me, but then and she let me figure it out. And I was like, you know what? I think this is my business. I'm gonna stop doing everything else and basically walk in my CEO role, which was getting my team in place so that I could stop losing and start winning. So that's my story of my loss.
Wow. If you are watching this right now, whether you're watching it live or on replay, I'm gonna make sure every woman on here you get the download of this in case you want to share it out, because there's enough in this that we're not even at the third question yet, but we've talked about so much that can save lives, that can transform businesses. Just from, and we're just on the mistakes. I haven't even asked you a strategy just yet. But sometimes people need to hear where you started. It's not about glorifying the struggle, but it's about respecting the journey. And many women that I coach are high achieving women. They're high performing women. And what happens is we get so focused on the destination that we forget about where we came from. I was at a conference 2 weeks ago called Bibles and Bags by Kendra Conyers. And the woman who was leading worship says, I don't know about y'all, but all it takes for me is to remember, like just to have a memory. And I was like, oh God, because all it takes is for me to have a memory. I just want to celebrate. I haven't told this publicly. A lot of the people that I'm close to know, but I was able to actually close my first six-figure contract today. I closed two contracts today, but I was able to close my first six-figure contract today. And what was so powerful for me is I remember negotiating my first six-figure contract. I mean, my first six-figure salary. And I remember how it felt to do that in a year. Now that's my possibility with one client. And so, there were times where I was on the job and I was working so hard and I didn't understand why. And now it really makes sense. So I don't know where everyone is in their journey, but wherever you are, just count it all joy. Know that it's all working for your good. It all rounds out, whether it's the 160 something dollar welfare check or the 400 something dollar welfare check, or losing a $300,000 investment and walking away from millions of dollars in a property, or whatever it is. Listen to the fact that every woman on this stage has lost. Raise your hand just so the people can see if you've lost before. And I also want you to keep it up if you've won. So it's a balance, right? I know you better give them the tip. So that is so powerful. So you all have some comments that are coming through. Absolutely phenomenal. Yes, yes, yes. All of it is coming through. So thank you all for tuning in. Is there, Wendy, did you want to share on this as well?
I did. I'm gonna be quick on mine. Like I said, I started back, 4 decades ago, a whole different environment, but still the principles are the same. But you get so married to a project or a business, be willing to move on. I'm in the finance business, and I've been in the office equipment business, the mortgage business, and I was making six figures. And then when it crashed, I started making zero figures with that business. And you kind of get spoiled. You start making money, you get spoiled. So you got to be able to bounce back. And that took me into the tax business. Kimberly, hey, I love tax season going on now. You can make those six figures plus in 3-4 months. But I'm in the finance business, and people tend to want to not be realistic. I'm a financial healer, and my first book is Diagnose Your Financial Health. You got to look at where you are. You got to be realistic about it. Don't be ashamed of where you are, where you've been. Like I tell folks, I've been foreclosed, repo, bankrupt, but because of that, I know what I'm talking about. Because of that, when I tell my clients something, it's from experience, not from reading in a book. I say, oh, you're Dr. Wendy. It's like, yeah, but I got my PhD from the School of Hard Knocks, before I had all these credentials. So you have to be real, and don't look at them as mistakes. Look at them as part of your journey. They're only mistakes if you don't learn the lesson. Because if you don't learn the lesson, you're going to go over and over again. But if you learn the lesson, you take it to the next level, and just be willing to hear where God is leading you, because, what you think is where you need to be is not necessarily what God thinks you need to be. So you need to be tuning in. And when he says move, you got to move, whether the provisions look like they're there. If he gives you the vision, the provisions are going to be there. So, and be realistic about your money. And if you're not making money, don't be afraid to, cut some folks off. I had some folks that were paying me handsomely, but like I said, they brought so much drama. It's like, look, here's your money back and don't call me no more because all money isn't good money. And one guy told me all money isn't green enough. So, her money wasn't green enough. So don't be afraid to turn business down. If your spirit's saying that's not the way to go, don't go there, because if you do, it's just going to be more heartache and suffering for you. But, like I said, be realistic about your money and don't be ashamed about your story. Like I said, because I've been bankrupt, foreclosed, and repoed, I know how to tell people how not to do it or how to come out of it from personal experience. So things always work out if you do what you're supposed to do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Any other ladies want to share about when you took a risk or when you had a loss and how you won?
I'll share. I am currently in a loss. Well, a perceived loss, if you want to perceive it that way. Due to some mistakes that I made when I formed a business partnership, I did not put it in writing. So therefore, because of a lot of disagreements, mismanagement, miscommunication, unmet expectations, I'm having to dissolve one part of my business currently, right now, which is a major revenue part of my business. The scary part is, oh my gosh, the income. How do I quickly pivot and replace this? So all of you all guys is lost. So you have no idea how all of y'all have just spoken into me. God is saying move. And I want to be stubborn and say, no, I want to hold on to this business. No. So now the person that I'm becoming, because I'm having to let go, is going to be a whole different level of income for me. It's going to be a whole different type of income because it's the person that I'm becoming that I'll be able to share this journey with. It's scary. It's so scary. Right now, it's scary. But because I've taken the lessons, I've gotten strategy, I understand now how to build a business strategically and not in struggle mode and hustle mode. It's the other side of this. I don't know if we're gonna do another one of these, but I know the other side of this is it's gonna be amazing. So I'm currently in a loss right now. I'm winding down my business, the one that I built from ground up. So yeah. So thank you all.
Yes. With that being said, for the ladies, especially who have been in business for a long time, I believe in having a matriarchal and multi generational space for this very reason. I'm 30, very smart, very wise, all those things that you all share with me and that I also believe, but nothing beats experience by years. And so, hearing where Kimberly is, I want those of you who have experienced losses to take yourself back to that lonely, cold, scary moment and share with her.
So, Kimberly, what I will say to you is I put it in the comments. Elevation requires separation, whether it's separation from a person, from a place, from a thing. It requires that separation. But like Miss Delphine said, the lesson, or it was it Dr. Wendy, you only lose when you don't learn.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I think I always say to people of color, when it comes to business, everything has to be in writing. I don't care how good, if that's your husband, if that's your kid, whoever, because my daughter is 25 years old and she's my daughter. But you know what she told me last year? I have a piece of property in Jamaica. I bought it when she was 4 years old and I put her name on it. And last year, when property prices skyrocketed to about 10 times what I bought it for, I wanted to sell. And you know what that little girl told me? Whatever you put my name on, I need to know. And you will not sell that property until I get my 50%. And believe me, I've had tons of people ask me about that property, but to this day, she will not sign those documents. And I learned from that. And I can be mad at her. For a while, I was really mad. But then the lesson from that is, like I said earlier, your kids watch you. This is something I would tell her to do if she was in a partnership with someone. So she's looking at it as a partnership. And I'm still at that point where I went through that. I got an attorney. I put a whole trust in place, which means that whenever I leave this earth, not only will I leave them a legacy, but everyone will know where they fit in that legacy. And so that's the important thing is things will happen, but make sure you have something that's written in black and white. No matter who. Only God himself you don't need one for, but everybody else you need one.
Thank you.
Yeah, and handle your business like a business. When I first started out, I went into business with my father and grandmother. And you think, okay, he's putting up the money and, relationship. I'm his daughter and all kind of backstory, to that. But the bottom line is I had to cut him loose. And thank God I did. But, you got to put those contracts and intellectual property. That was another thing that, trademark, copyright your stuff. I'm a big fan of that because look at all the entertainers that wrote songs that they didn't have the copyrights to, and then somebody else is making millions off of their work. And, handle your business like a business, legally especially, get your structure right. Be it whatever kind of legal structure you're going to have, set it up because, you got to handle your business. If you're in business, be about business and don't. And then, this thing will work out. God's just telling you to move on to the next level. So trust him and know that he got your back.
And if I may interject, so the other ladies uncovered the legalities of it. Now I'm going to talk about the hard work part of it. Now you bust your butt and you build it brick by brick all over again. After you take care of the legalities and you fight for this, you fight for it. You can build this over again. I'm a monomatic. That means I'm just going to do one business and I'm going to do it till the day I die. And for me, that's trucking. So no matter how ugly trucking gets for me, I know some of the other ladies say they might go to other professions. I have not had a job since 1996 and I won't be getting one today. So that I will bust my behind no matter what every day to make sure that I have a business that's sustainable. You see what I'm saying? And for you, that's what you need to do. You need to just build this business back up brick by brick. You don't have to be salty about it, angry about it. Just know you've done all that you can do with that situation. Now you're going to start over here and just go ahead and don't waste any time. Like I said, I've been out of business 7 different times, but I've never let day 31 catch me being out of business. So I have to take a couple days and reflect and reposition myself. Never longer than 30 days each time I've been out of business. So maybe that's a principle that you can follow as well.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
I love that. And to the spirit of this matter, sometimes we need rest. And if we won't take it, source will take it for us. And if you built it once, you could build it again with less distractions, no one to answer to. And the same way your mistakes created multiple 6 figures, this one is going to exponentially, beyond what you can even imagine, create wealth for you. And that's what I'm really excited about. And one thing I shared in the back office of our studio, because Megan said something about we even, if it ain't God, you don't need an agreement, really. But then God said, wait a minute now, I have covenants and commandments. So even when we're coming into it, when people, not to get like super holy roller, but even when a person is a non-believer and they decide to be a believer, they make an agreement with God. They get his permission to come into their life. So even on a spiritual level, covenants and commandments are held. And so we're just learning. Let's keep it real. Many of us are the first to do this.
Yep.
And we were bound to make massive mistakes. But if you could take a loss, you can handle a win. So I'm really excited for what is about to happen for you and for us all to do this again in a year and talk about the growth and leverage from a different perspective. So for the next question, I'm only going to do a few of you, and then we're going to go to strategy and takeaway. So if you were tuning into this, you were getting a full masterclass in leverage from women who look like you, who are at different stages, in different places in the world, who come from different backgrounds, different countries, and who have bet on themselves in different ways. And thank you so much, Delphine, for sharing that piece about brick by brick and rebuilding, because sometimes the pandemic challenge everyone to pivot, but you have to decide whether it's time for you to pivot or to position yourself in what you're doing. And so Delphine is a powerful example of, and even Toki, are powerful examples of staying in your industry, being true to what you do. If it's your assignment, it's your assignment. You just continue to evolve in it. So thank you so much for sharing that powerful perspective. The last question is, everyone who leverages isn't qualified to teach others to do the same. This is a fancy one, because I just closed a contract today. You know what the internet would tell me? Well, package that up and teach everybody about it. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to show people close to me what I did and how I did it, but I am not prepared right now to go out into the world and charge people monies to teach them corporate contracts. That's not where I am. So to that point, what should people look for in a mentor who can accelerate their growth? Because you all teach people what you do. So you're qualified to teach. What makes others qualified, and what should people look out for when they're looking for a mentor in your specific industry? Do's and don'ts would be great. I'm actually going to call on somebody first. I want to call on Megan. I also want to call on Delphine. So, Delphine, if you want to go first, because trucking is one of those industries where there are a lot of people coming out as coaches and mentors. And I would like people to know what qualifies a person to teach this industry, and what are some do's and don'ts people should look out for.
Well, for me, longevity is everything, because if you've been in it long enough, that means you've made a lot of mistakes and you had to overcome them. So for me, I would look for someone who's been in the industry for a long time. So therefore, I know they've been through a lot of different cycles in the industry, because the industry has changed a lot. So that's what that's what I would be looking for. And also someone who, like I said, because they've been in the industry for a long time, they've seen a lot of different changes. And I also want to make sure that it hasn't just been just all, perfect roses for them. I want to make sure that they've had some different failures, but most importantly, I want to make sure that they do what they say that they do. If I tell you I have a trucking business and you fly in and I can't show you my trucking business, I can't show you my trucks, I can't show you even my office, then that's a problem. So I think a lot more people need to vet who they are using as coaches, make sure that they are who they say that they are, make sure that they do what they say they do, and do not be ashamed to ask for receipts, because I can show you receipts dated back to in the 90s.
Boom. Love it. Megan, Toki, Dr. Wendy, anyone else have anything to share on do's and don'ts? How to know if somebody's qualified to teach what they do?
So
Well, I,
when I met you, Jalen, right? You asked me something about this, about coach. And I said to you that I hated the term coach. And that's because too many people have taken that, especially since the pandemic. And I especially love what Delphine said, a doer. 90% of the people who are selling and packaging these things are not doing it. So the biggest thing is you want to make sure. I know tons of people online selling how to do a home care, selling medical staffing, but you ask them, where's your business? They can't show you. Or one of the other things that I look at is when people approach me about coaching, I don't have time to be going to all of this if I'm actively running my business. So you want to look at time. For the most part, people who are serious business people, their goal or their income comes from the business, and coaching is secondary. But a lot of these coaches, coaching is their business. And that's why I've always said, don't call me a coach. I will mentor somebody. I will help somebody as long as I see that person is serious. But I never want to be called a coach because I'm too busy running my business, learning my business, strategizing, adding income streams, revenue sources to be able to be selling courses and being a coach. And so longevity, look at, doers and not sayers. And another thing that I look at, and I might offend some people, but if you're going to sell me on home care or trucking and you have a 9 to 5, you can't sell me on that, because if you were doing that great in whatever you're teaching me, you would not need a 9 to 5. And that's the biggest takeaway I feel for people. Like, I stepped away from a six-figure job. I was easily clocking 200K at United Health. But I stepped away from that in March of 2021. And thank God I've never held a job since then. And I don't intend to. And I found out once you step away, you make that big step, he'll make a way. You'll find creative ways to add income streams to your business and to grow your business. So if you're a coach and you still got that 9 to 5, you ain't coaching me on nothing. And that's what I'm saying.
And the mic drops. Okay. Who else have anything to share?
I do on that. And this is a lesson learned, an expensive lesson. I, hired, and it wasn't really hiring a coach. It was buying programs from this one guy. I mean, I spent 6 figures. And, I'm a business person. And this was at a time I was just, getting back into the game after the chemo and cancer and all that. And I didn't get what I paid for, and I was pissed about it. And I had to say, Lord, help me, because I'm pissed with this man that took all my damn money, and I ain't get what I paid for. But what I did get were relationships with other people that really helped me flourish. So don't, be wary of the people that are salespeople. Now, he knows how to close a deal, but he doesn't know how to deliver what you buy. And that was the biggest problem I had. Hey, I bought this, I want it, I don't care, I spent too much money. But that was a big lesson for me. And if somebody's willing to just close you, that's a red flag. Get someone that's willing to give you first and take interest in you, and give you some advice without saying, okay, here's an invoice because I told you this, or pay this and I'll tell you that. Stay away from those folks, because it's all about the money with them. If they're, for real, and they're the kind of people you want to be linked up with, they need to have, the spiritual integrity. And that's something that I've really, that is something that another lesson that God said, okay, I didn't tell you. I mean, I told you to go there, but I didn't tell you to go at that level. I could have got in there to low end, but I want the top, and I paid dearly. But like I said, it took me a minute to just put it in the category of, I didn't get the products that I bought, but I got the relationships that I didn't buy that were more valuable than the products. So, be careful of folks that's just trying to sell you, because, you can buy anywhere. You don't want to just, if they're not willing to give you something. And I don't mean a free ebook or, just this, that. I mean something that's if your situation needs advice on this circumstance right now, are you willing to tell me at least how to get started in solving that? If they're not willing to do that for you free, move on.
Yeah, I know Toki is going to go too. Someone asked earlier, what are some trends in marketing that are now outdated? And one of the trends that I shared is that selling the Telling the what and selling the how is an outdated marketing strategy. So if you're looking for a coach, a strategist, a mentor, a consultant in a specific industry, if they're only willing to tell you the what part, but they're like, okay, but to learn how, you need to invest in it. If they're not able to kind of preset and give you something to where you can kind of get an insight into the scope of work, you can get an insight into the deliverables, and even you can win without hiring them, that's when you know you've met someone who's actually an expert at what they do. Because millionaires are generous people, and well, the good-hearted ones. That's why a lot of Black women, we need to become millionaires and beyond millionaires, is because when money's in the hands of good people, good things happen. And so if you are someone who is looking for the right service provider, look for someone who is willing to help you win, period, not attached to the investment. The investment is just a byproduct, but you should just want to see the person win. Especially because a lot of what we're teaching, we have to understand many other cultures held this information. Some of us are coming into this information and we've been able to utilize it, and we've packaged and sold it. But people who are skilled have so much information and so much practicality and so much theory that they don't mind throwing you a bone. They don't mind throwing you something to say, here. Just like Megan did earlier. She could have said, you could have spoke in, how people speak in jargon to confuse you. When I called Megan earlier to speak to another home care agency who is at seven figures, but could be doing way better just with simple strategies, Megan knew how to hold her expertise, but also share the how. So that's a strategy of holding your proprietary framework and information, but still giving the how without keeping people dangling and hanging just to invest in you. So that's something that I wanted to share. Toki, it's on you. Oh, you good?
Yeah, I mean, because you guys, you took it all. You said it all. So yeah, no, I'm good. Because the part that I was just gonna add is about when you're looking for a mentor, just make sure you look for someone who has a passion to see you win. And so you added that in, and so you guys closed it out.
Perfect. So let's go to. Oh, well, go ahead, Chandra.
I had one. It's an unpopular opinion. And this one, and it started with me in 2020. And it's if I hear a coach say, if I can do it, you can too. That's not honoring my journey and what I'm going through in the pandemic as a business owner, nor is it honoring what I've gone through prior to. So I think if somebody says, if I can do it, you can too, it's from the lens of, if you've had my life, then of course it's easy. And it's almost setting up that person. It's like a subconscious negative kind of setup where if you don't do it in that time frame, then are you a failure? Or do you see what I mean? So if I hear that, that's my huge red flag. And I'm like, thank you for your time. And I'll move on.
Absolutely. Because one thing I tell, I have some clients who invest in my coaches, or they see my coaches and mentors. And I even had someone who was in one of my programs, wasn't doing anything they were supposed to be doing, and saw one of my coaches and said, well, I invested this X, Y, and Z amount of money because I needed a kick in the butt. I needed someone who was going to help me X, Y, and Z. And it's great to look at my coaches and where they are and want what they have. But this is what I always ask people to do. You want my coach's success? You want my success? Go look at a video of my coach 10 years ago and tell me if you're looking at the same exact woman that you're looking at today. And the answer is no. You're not looking at a woman who just invested to win. You're looking at a woman who invested her time and her energy and her willingness to keep going to win. So everybody right now wants to live a softer life. They want ease. They want things to just come to them. They want to be on the receiving end. And I too want that for the women who are watching this. But if you're watching the women on this screen, these women have earned ease or will arrive at ease through the experiences that they've had. And I think that's one of the key things that I want you all to get. You cannot buy another coach's or person's ease, especially if you haven't invested the time, money, or energy to get the experience. So, for our very last segment, if this was good, drop a 1 in the chat and share, whose story or what things have been very pivotal to you this evening, even if you're watching on replay. I'm sure these ladies will circle back around and see these comments. It's very important because somebody said something on today's live that will impact somebody's life forever. And so I thank you all so much for being here. And as we exit out, I'm gonna shift past strategy because I feel like you all gave strategy. If there's a strategy that's just on your heart to share, feel free to share it. But I really want you to share a takeaway from today's conversation, like a final thought for anyone who's watching, and then also tell people where they can find you, or how they can join your email list, or if you have something that you would like to give them. So Delphine, it's on you.
My final takeaway is, even when I was on welfare, I learned the numbers. I'm a maniac with numbers. And I learned that, I know we're talking about 6 figures, but I'm gonna talk about 7 figures for a moment, because that's what really changed my life. I learned that if I made $2,750 a day, that's gonna get me to $19,260 a week. And I also learned that gets me $1.1 million a year. And so I just want to tell you, whether you're selling lollipops at $1 a piece, you need to figure out how to get in front of 2,750 people or 1,400 people who will buy 2 of them from you. Whatever the case may be, I don't care what it is that you're trying to do, you can become a 7-figure earner. You can. You will become a 7-figure earner. If you want to connect with me, if you feel as though having a trucking business needs to be something that's in your portfolio of investments, please link up with me at sixfiguretruckingacademy.com. And the 6 is spelled out. That is sixfiguretruckingacademy.com. Let me show you how I can change the trajectory of your life, help you create a long-lasting legacy, and create generational wealth for you and your family in 90 days or less.
Thank you so much. So excited. Keisha, would you like to go next? Your takeaway from today's conversation, what you like to share, and how people can find you.
My takeaway from today is just surround yourself with amazing women. I'm honored to be on this live with all of you all. Thank you again, Jalen. And what I would like to share with anyone watching who will watch the replay is that get rid of your limiting beliefs. And this is something I learned from Jalen's event back in September last year. But get rid of your limiting beliefs. Put 2 hands on the wheel of whatever it is that you're doing. Don't try to have your hands in all different kind of pots. Like, if you focus and just put your hands on that wheel and pedal to the metal, then you will see so much growth. Also, I would say walk in that CEO role. If you are claiming to be a CEO, if you want to be a CEO, like, walk in that role, build your dream team. And I think that was it. I think I had one more. Oh, yeah. Move from doing business to be a business owner. And a lot of us get stuck in that business. And that's where you just look like you're doing business and the business really owns you. But move to that space where you're doing business and you actually own the business. So that's it for me.
Love it. Thank you so much. Kimberly, it's on you. Takeaway from today and how people can find you.
Yes, definitely. So my biggest takeaway today was always be a student, even though y'all didn't really say that, but always be a student. Always know that your skills, what you're learning, your experiences, your mistakes, everything everything can be a transformation. It can be helpful to someone else. And it can also, like Jalen said, your mistakes can make you millions, and they really can. Document your processes, document your journey, document your mistakes, talk about them, be vulnerable. talk about them to people, because people want to know you as a brand. They want to know that you're a real person. They want to know you're a real coach. They want to know how you can help them and how your experiences are relevant to what you say you're selling, right? And so that's my biggest takeaway. And trust the process. Trust the process. Everyone, like Jim Rohn said, everyone should try to become a millionaire, not because of the money, not because of the outcome, just because of the person that you become in the process of it. Like building a business, being an entrepreneur is a spiritual journey. It's just not physical or just about making the money. It will change you as a person. It will ignite every single weakness that you have to face yourself. And there's no other thing, I don't think there's any other thing on earth that will do that other than the process of being a real entrepreneur. If y'all want to know how to run a tax business and want that to be your wealth to journey, your journey, your vehicle to wealth, you can definitely reach me at Tax Pro Kim, or you can go to Kimberly Fowler on Facebook. That's where you can find me, at Tax Pro Kim on IG or Kimberly Fowler on Facebook.
Love it. Thank you so much. Next, we have Chandra.
I think the one thing that like people to walk away from is that government contracts is not exclusive to IT or the military. There are government contracts for yoga, barbers, hairstylists, whatever you think, whatever service you could find in a city, more than likely the government is also purchasing that. And to somebody else, and to someone's earlier comment that focus is really the key to winning in your business. I like that analogy, keeping two hands on the wheel, and then press the pedal to the metal. That's really how you'll be successful in any venture that you do. I primarily reside on Instagram and LinkedIn, and I'll include my links in the chat.
Love it. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. Dr. Wendy, it's on you.
All right. My takeaway is be real. Be real with yourself and be real with others. And don't be ashamed of your journey. The valleys are valuable. And talk, like I said, talk with other people, share your journey. I'm not saying you have to tell everybody all your detailed, intimate business, but don't be ashamed to tell them that, hey, I had a business, it failed, I filed bankruptcy, and I lost millions. That's okay, because you'll be surprised that person you may be telling may be your next big investor or your next big client. So don't be ashamed to share where you are. But, I'm a spiritual person. Jalen, that's what I like about her. She's a spiritual person. Tune into your spirit. And if you don't know how to do that, I'm sure everybody's experienced, well, okay, my something told me to do that. When you didn't do what your prompting was telling you, that's your spirit talking to you. So, listen to it and be open to doing things outside of your comfort zone, because that's where the opportunities are. And that's where God is prompting you, get out that comfort zone. So do that. And I am giving away a free gift, my guide of 6 ways to stop hemorrhaging money. And you can go to my website, The Financial Cures with an S.com, or you can text the word guide, GUIDE, to 770-796-4944. That's 770-796-4944. And that's text the word guide. Thank you.
Love it. Thank you so much. Next, we have Megan.
Yes. Hi guys again. So the thing that I would like to emphasize, or the takeaway from tonight, is that there's no quick fix or get rich quick in being an entrepreneur or being a business owner. I would really like a lot more people to realize that, this jumping on every new thing that's going on is not the way to go. You find something, and like one of them said, keeping your hands on the wheel. Once you keep your hands on the wheel, then you can figure out more ways to do that thing better. definitely people want to reach out to me. It's Megan at comfortathomehealthcare.com. I'm Mimsy Mendez on Facebook, Instagram, and on LinkedIn. So you guys can reach me on any of those. And I would like to mention that we have this huge business expo that's coming up in June, where we'll be talking about all of this and more, from home care to government contracts to medical staffing, all of those things, along with franchising. And so I would just like to get that out there. If you guys want more information on that, it's on my Facebook. It's on Eventbrite, and you can just reach out to me and we can talk about it. Thank you.
Yes. Love it, love it, love it. Next, we have Toki Simmons.
All right. So, being a business strategist and always looking into people's businesses, what I do want to say before I say my takeaway is that I want people to remember to, as they're leveraging, to make sure that you increase your prices of your earlier products. Um, I find that a lot of people are missing that we're leveraging and we're starting to do other things and bring on other streams of income, not realizing that we have forgotten about where we started and the products and services that we have, and we're not increasing those prices based on inflation today. And so just don't forget those things. Another thing that I'm seeing in the service industry is that we're not putting our clients on auto pay. And I know for those of us here, that may not seem like a big deal, but I promise you, I see it all the time. And I have clients that are struggling and fighting to get paid for their services. So that may not be like a huge strategy, but make sure that's implemented in your plan. My takeaway today is I want to tell everybody that you just can't quit. I think that's the main thing that we've heard here. I think that's the thread of the message, is that do not quit. Doesn't matter how many losses or how much the loss is, you have got to keep going. How you can reach me, you can reach me on Facebook or LinkedIn, under my name, Toki Simmons, or you can email me at cfo@handlemybooks.net. That's cfo@handlemybooks.net. Thank you.
Awesome. I think that was all of the ladies who are here. And so I thank you all so much for being here. And I do want to just do a few caveats for every woman that is here. If you do reach out to them, you are reaching out to them for the purposes of being interested in their services. Please make sure, for legal reasons, that you do not add any of the emails that you've heard to your email list. So I just wanted to make sure we know that. And also, I just want you to know this too. I feel led to say this because oftentimes on my profile, I don't think I've ever said this out loud, but I'm going to say it now. On my profile, there's a lot of value. I have a lot of value in my network, and there are many people who come to my page to grab people, and they see opportunity to work with folks. But I want to make sure that if you reach out to any of these women, you are reaching out to them on an expert level. You need their services. You're interested in what they're doing. You want to be a part of their networks to add value, not to take from them. So none of these women are targets. They are experts. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that, and that we start. One of the takeaways that I have for anybody watching this is that everyone isn't your client. There are different people in your network. Some people are going to may start as your clients and become collaborators and cheerleaders, but you have cheerleaders, you have collaborators, you have clients, and you have so many other different things. But with the women that you saw on this live today are women that I highly encourage you to invest in, because they've done it. They've preceded many people in what they're doing. And I want to make sure that we honor their skill sets, whether it's government contract, financial services, home care businesses, or learning how to fix and flip businesses, when to hold, when to sell, whether it's starting a transportation business or a trucking company, make sure that you respect the talent that you saw on today. So I'm really excited about everyone who will work with each of you ladies. Thank you to everyone who decided to tune into this live. The replay will be available. And this is the close of Black Women Who Leverage. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you soon.